Welcome everyone to a new episode of Mom's Tea Talk. Today I have a very important topic to talk about, which is active listening, and I have the honor to share it with my friends Riham and Nermeen. Hey guys.
Hi Soha.
Hi Soha, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us today.
Thank you for coming. So today I figured we can talk about active listening because for me, I have 3 kids and I feel like I'm struggling with that because with nowadays things are rushed. So we don't pay attention to how we spend that time listening to our kids. Do you guys find the same issue with your own family and your own kids?
Absolutely, yes. It's a struggle because we just don't have the time. And sometimes we want to get the information. Like, I want, hurry up and tell me the information I need so I can figure out what to do for you or what I can do or what I need to help you with or whatever it is. We don't just take a minute and be quiet and listen.
Yeah. We're problem solvers. We're moms.
Yes.
And so we want, okay, tell me what it is so I can help fix the problem, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And instead, they just want to be heard.
Right.
They want our attention.
That's the thing. So what is, you think, the definition of active listening? What do you think it means when we say we have to practice active listening with our kids?
I think it's listening in a way that the person who is talking gets a clear message that you are paying attention to them, that you are hearing everything they said, and that you're just present with them, hearing what they have to
You're
say.
100% invested in that talk. And I think we're all guilty of that to some extent. Well, I can say that for myself. Because sometimes I'm just using my phone or I'm on my laptop and I tell my kid I am listening,
I hear
but
you,
I'm not.
yeah.
I'm
That's
not
focused.
doing.
Listening.
Yeah.
You're not
They
giving
didn't-
them the eye
The eye
contact.
contact. Yeah.
They didn't get the message that you are listening.
Because in our minds, yeah, we can hear everything they're saying, and we're moms. We know how to multitask. Like,
Exactly.
Like
That's our
job
strength. Yeah.
description. That's what we do.
So we think
But
we're doing
for
a good job.
them, and I've had my kids tell me, "Mom, you're not listening to me. You're not paying attention to me," even though. And it's kind of a wake-up call because in my mind I am listening, but they're not getting that validation.
Message. Yeah. So I remember one time Abu Dawood Lamai said that when you listen with all of your senses, not just with your ears, because sometimes we say, and that's why the Bible tells us, whoever has an ear to hear, let him hear, because sometimes, yes, things can go from one ear to the other. But we really need to invest in that conversation with our kids. And like you said, Nermeen, we find ourselves as problem solvers. We want to make sure, okay, while my daughter is talking to me, I'm already, the mama bear is out. I'm already, okay, what am I going to do to solve her problem? What am I going to do to make sure that this does not happen again? But all she wants is to just vent. Yeah, that's it.
She doesn't want us to solve her problems. They just want to be heard and they want to talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is
and
a
that's
really,
hard for us.
It is hard.
For moms.
there's a really nice paragraph. I took it from this book. It's called Parenting Toward the Kingdom. And it's a really nice paragraph.
author?
Yeah,
So
who's the
the author is Philip Mamalikas. He has a PhD in parenting. He says, listening is an act of love. Real listening requires that we resist the temptation to ignore, interrupt, give advice, criticize, or react. It requires selflessness, and it's an ascetic act of self-giving. I never
Ascetic
ascetic act of self-giving.
Wow.
So when you think about listening, you always think that you're doing the other person a favor, right? But in reality, it's really a selflessness to our own, that we are leaving everything. We are making sure that we are investing in that conversation that we're talking to. And it's really not only an act of love, but it's act of obedience, okay? So I think for us as parents, sometimes we don't pay much attention in how we also communicate with our spouse, because listening starts from the top, right? So if our kids see that maybe, inside the house, mom and dad are not listening to each other, well, how am I going to listen to my kids, right? So
That's a good point.
the most recent studies had mentioned that number one issue that parents complain about, that their kids are not listening to them. Yeah. But then when you dig deeper, the kids are actually saying, our parents are not either listening to us. So it's kind of a two-way thing. So some of the, do you guys have some maybe practices that we can do with our kids to practice active listening?
I think the easiest and the most simple one is to just stop what you're doing and look at them. Give them the eye contact and give them the message that I was washing the dishes, but I stopped.
It's easy in theory, but it's hard in practicality.
It is hard, but it's simple.
But it's simple.
Especially nowadays where all of our
You just have to
crazy
train
busy.
your mind to remember to do that. Like, I think it's easy to be, distracted with other things, and you have to think about, okay, my daughter wants my attention or my son wants my attention. I need to stop.
But it can be helpful if you can talk with your kids and come up with like a buzzword.
Yeah.
That when they say, it means, Mom, I need you to pay attention to me. So when you hear that word, you drop everything.
So I had taken a class a long time ago. It was like a mom's class, and we'd watch videos. And one of the videos, they told you, like, because a lot of times we as moms were in adult conversations, and then our kids will come up to us, especially if they're little, Mom, 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 and interrupt us. And then we get annoyed and we're like, don't you see I'm speaking to an adult? So what they said is have the child go up to you and just kind of squeeze your hand like that. And that tells you that they want your attention so that you can wrap up or pause in your adult conversation without the child interrupting the adult conversation.
Yes.
So that was really cool. And my daughter, who's now 8, we've been practicing this for several years, and she just did it for me the other day. She came up to me and squeezed my arm while I was on a work call. So I know, like, when I get off the call to tell her I'm ready to listen to her before I move on to my next task.
So another thing now, like usually when we have a problem and we're talking about the problem, and sometimes your kids say, Mom, I don't want to talk about it now. So that's another thing that sometimes as parents, we're like, especially as moms, you want to fix it now. You
Right.
wanna get it
If
over
I have a dime
and
for
make
every
sure-
time I heard this,
Yeah.
I'd be rich.
Right? So at this point, what do you guys usually do?
Well, at this point, I don't know what to do. Should I push or should I give them space? Because
But if you push, it's gonna escalate.
Well, and that depends
if
on the
you give
age
them
too,
space,
because you're talking about a teenager,
right.
and it might be a little bit different when you're talking about elementary school age. So I think also the age.
I think that kind of comes up more with teenagers.
Yeah, that's
the
what I
little
mean.
ones, they typically tell you if they're crying or upset, or and
Right.
you ask them what's going on. After they cool down and they're not crying as much,
There's time
they-
out with the little ones for both. I feel like
But
parents should
but
have time
little
out for
ones,
them.
something will be bothering them, and then they'll act out. And so and you'll have to get to the root of it and realize the reason why they acted out and behaved this way is really because of something else. But they don't want to admit their vulnerability and admit that they're feeling lonely or they're feeling neglected, or so they act out to get the attention. And that happens a lot with little kids. So you kind of have to discern that as well.
Right.
And then teenagers.
Teenagers are different because, like I said, I don't know, should I push or should I give them space? Because I feel sometimes I don't want to talk about it. It's an escape. It's push it aside now, and Mom will probably forget about it and not come back to it. That way I don't have to talk about
Well,
it.
I think what you could do is you have to respect their wishes if they don't want to talk about it right now, but then you can say, that's fine, we don't have to talk about it today, but we're going to have to talk about it. So let me know when is a good time for you to be ready to talk about it. And you can say tonight at 8 p.m. And you could even try to give them like a deadline so that they don't try to
Yes.
escape like you
We have
said.
to talk
But
about
say,
this
we'll
by
just have to discuss
tomorrow.
it by Friday. So you let me know between now and then when is a good time.
I think
So that you
that's-
hold them
that's a good
accountable.
strategy, giving them a
Yeah,
deadline.
but while still giving them their space.
You as a parent, you also wanna gather your thoughts.
Right.
Gather your emotions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're too much.
You got to
Yeah. So
practice
you have to calm it
regulation.
down, and you're gathering all of this and making sure that you have decisive information to give to your kid, and your kid as well has that time to collect all of their thoughts. Sometimes,
Right.
like you said, there's background information that maybe sometimes is prompting them to act this way,
Yeah.
or prompting them to feel that this issue occurred because this happened and I didn't talk about it. So it's
Yeah.
all kind of like a volcano just erupted.
Right.
But in that paragraph that I read about not to judge our kids, I feel like that's a very important thing that we have to do when we are listening to them. Because sometimes when we're listening, we are already blaming them. Oh, you got this issue because you did not do this,
Right.
right? So, and sometimes it's just a matter of the situation itself to turn to that way. And we have to make sure that they understand the good and wrong without feeling that home and mom and dad are judging them. Home should be a safe haven for them to come and vent, and we have to listen and try to give them constructive, criticism afterwards, but to help them. It's not to judge.
Right. Because a lot of times when they talk, and if we're all fired up about something that they did, then as they're talking, we're not even listening. We're thinking about what we want to say next to them. And so that's also an issue too. Like, we have to train ourselves to clear our mind and just focus on what they have to say and regulate our emotions, really.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an important point, because we're quick to react. I personally
Yeah. Well,
to
emotional
admit that's a
regulation
problem.
is difficult, like for all ages.
And we need to respond appropriately too. So a small problem, it should not have a huge consequence, because what's the goal of active listening? Like, my goal for active listening is to, encourage my kids to come and talk to me.
Right.
Open the line of
Be a safe
communication.
place. Be a safe place for our
Right?
kids.
I don't have the solution for everything. I don't know everything.
Right.
I don't know what to do in this situation, but I want to make sure that I am there for my kids when they need me. And I want them to know that I too sometimes trying to figure it out as we go, right? So mom is there, but mom will make sure that you are safe, you are protected, and I will not judge you. I will not judge you for what you've done. Yeah. Okay. I might tell you that this is wrong. I might tell you maybe next time let's do it this way, but I will not say, Shuf, I told you not to do this. You didn't listen to me, because it's both ways, right?
And a lot of times I can say, I understand what you're telling me. I don't agree with your choices, but it's your decision to make. And you can let them know, like, I don't agree with you. If it were me, I wouldn't do this or that. But I respect you enough to allow you to make your own decisions, So maybe, the intent is that you're not telling them, no, you can't do this, or you're not allowed, or abe, or whatever. But at the same time, you're treating them with respect and maturity to allow them, you're giving them that little kind of nugget in the back of their mind that is like, even though I'm doing this, I know that mom doesn't approve of it. And hopefully eventually they'll let it go.
You are actually teaching your kids a lot of things by listening. You're not only teaching them that you're showing them that you love them, but you're also teaching them respect, and you're teaching them that they have to take a turn when talking. So when you were saying interruption, that's a thing. Even adults now, like if you go to big meetings, adults talk over each other all the time, and we need to give that space over the person who's talking, so that we can listen to all the things they have to say, then respond. So a really good practice exercise that I was reading before, that during the dinner time, when the whole family is sitting together, we can say one by one what was the highlight of our day. So at least if you have a child that is not, keen about talking,
shy,
at least you're giving them that space. This is your time to tell us about things about your day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually. So how do you handle a child who is not a talker like you? I want to listen to you. I just wish you say anything.
Most of my kids talk too much, so I don't have that experience. I'm like enough talking.
Or the kid that always gives you a one-word answer.
Yeah.
Like, how was your day
I have
today?
one of those.
My oldest is kind of like that, but that's again like a teenager,
that's a teenage thing,
right?
Sometimes, but you gotta find that happy moment where things are in a good spirit, and let them talk about whatever they're talking about
Right.
without interrupting, without judging, and that will encourage them to talk more about their interests, about the things that they, that they like. Because some people also are socially shy. They don't like to talk, in front of everyone. They don't like to, express their emotions in front of everyone. And we have to respect that. And we have to see what works for our kid.
Right.
As long as they get the point that we are here for them to listen to them. And that brought me to that point that one time you told me about spending that time, like the one-on-one with each one. This is it. This is your time.
Right.
We're going to spend 10 minutes, talk about anything you want to talk about.
Right.
So it doesn't always have to be a problem.
And meet them where they're at too. So if you know that, like my oldest, she likes to ride her bike. So the other day I said, I'm coming with you. And we rode all around the whole neighborhood together, side by side, and we talked. If we were just sitting next to each other, we wouldn't talk. So you kind of have to meet them where they're at, what they like to do, and
That's a
and
good
do
point
that.
because doing an activity or eating together usually helps people to connect
Yeah.
better.
So that's a very good point that you say, because I think differentiate between genders as well. So sometimes, boys having boys, I know that they're more happier when they're doing an activity. So that's when they talk, right? They're not like girls that let's do a pillow talk and talk about. They're not gonna do that. Well, at least my boys. So you have to find what works for them and give them that space to make sure that they express themselves.
And also can be helpful if you could find tools that can be a discussion opener, like movies or books or
News.
news.
That are happening
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah.
So that would be kind of like your segue to a discussion.
Opening
or to
up a discussion.
Exactly, yes.
But then you'll always hear from them, Mom, this is not a teaching moment again. Please don't just, give us another lesson about life. But again, you just gotta joke around about it and make sure that, that they know that they can express their opinion too without being judged.
Yeah.
So I feel even if we had missed out from, being good listeners to our kids, we can still spend that time. I mean, this is not something that, oh my gosh, I made a mistake and I can go back to create that relationship with my kid. It definitely can start at any time. It can start today. It can start right now, but it's gonna require extra efforts from us to show
And
them
practice.
Yeah, to show them that trust, that they can trust us, that they can come and talk to us, and we will listen with all of our senses.
Yeah.
And you mentioned in a previous discussion, Soha, about how our Lord Jesus Christ, he did that too. He gave us the examples. So he even said to the little children, "Come unto me," and he went down at their level and spoke to them at their level. But then with the Samaritan woman, he went to her in a private place and had a discussion privately with her. And then with the rest of the people, his disciples. So he can't right.
Even when he denied
Exactly.
him, he came to him and talked to him.
Exactly.
And he actually heard him.
Right.
And he had compassion about his excuse. Like
Right.
it wasn't like he
didn't judge him and
rejected or
reject him.
judged him or
Even
how
Judas.
dare you do this to me? No. So again, the Bible teaches us so many beautiful lessons about how our Lord Jesus Christ taught us how to listen, how to love, how to not judge each other. Because at the end of the day, we as Christians, we need to live in harmony, and we need to make sure that we show this as first to our children before we serve it and
To
show it
others.
to our church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so
It
much,
was a great
Soha. This
I
was
discussion.
really
great.
enjoyed the conversation, and I
Yeah.
hope that everyone can relay this message to others. And we'll see you guys next time in Mom's Tea Time.